So many kids these days have no idea where their food comes from or what food is. I have a friend who worked on a farm in central Pennsylvania, a rural community, and she would give tours and pull a carrot out of the ground and say, "This is where we grow carrots." And the kid would say, "Oh, I would never eat a carrot out of the ground." I think that we're really disconnected from just like what food is, where it comes from.
This beautiful farm is surrounded on all sides by the city. Things are quietly growing while the hubbub of the city kind of throbs around the farm.
Its goal is to have a local food system, primarily healthy food, healthy organic food, available to all persons of the city, including persons in low-income communities. We feel we've come up with a possibility of having healthy food for low-income residents convenient to them by growing it in that community. Once we have a farm in a community and people are starting to work on the farm, the community will come around and together recall the techniques of preparing and eating healthy food.
I was a member of the class that organized the event. We spent the entire semester meeting once a week to conduct interviews with various artists and farmers and chefs who live throughout Chicago. Throughout the process of interviewing these artists, farmers, and chefs, we decided we wanted to curate a spring meal event, and that basically, from then on, took over the entire class.
Was approached by Liana, and she outlined the project, and it fit well in a series that I've always envisioned developing. It seemed like it was a very grounded and rooted and connected quality experience.
And then we had Sam come as the chef, and Sam does these mobile pop-up eateries around Chicago.
We just showed up early in the morning and kind of checked out the area and the farm, and then David, who was helping me out, went out and scoured the land, and we just grabbed a bunch of stuff, and then from there we were able to pick out a menu. I mean, we had a few things kind of already figured out, like an outline, but it wasn't completely set in place, which I think is helpful.
We actually didn't have that much time even until like that morning, the morning of the event, to plan how the meal was going to go, like what time, what dish was going to be served. And of course, like it didn't even happen the way we planned that morning, but it worked out in the way that it worked out, which was great, so.
We invited an artist, and it didn't work out with her schedule, so we ended up inviting Amber Ginsberg last minute, and it was just amazing how she was able to pull through last minute like that.
The artist who was going to participate in that meal actually couldn't make it at quite the last minute. So Deborah asked me, she sent this great email that said, "I have an unreasonable request, but I'm going to make it anyway. But of course I wanted to work with Ken and do something at City Farms, and you know, I was available, so that wasn't a problem. There was a big block of clay, and everyone was invited to make a ball of clay and press it between a piece of saran wrap and to make an impression of their mouth. This invitation was hopefully a prompt to bring people a little bit outside of their comfort zones, but also to kind of bring awareness for this meal, the part of the body that was really going to be the primary sensor, the place in which all of the labor of the chef and all of the labor of the farm and all of the labor of the food that went into it was actually processed and sensed through the mouth. People were invited to put two halves of their mouth together, insert some seeds into the pouch, and close it, and then this could be deposited in the ground anywhere, anytime. Simultaneously, while that was happening, the surface on which the chef was cooking, there was a kind of pouch. We made a tablecloth, and with 2 layers of paper, and in between the 2 layers of paper was powdered graphite. And so every action that every participant and the chef did left a trace.
So that because she has the Dan took people through the garden, kind of showed them what was growing.
And you want to cut kind of high on the leaf. So for example, like right there, that looks pretty good. Like that. You want to just sort of look it over each handful and make sure that you don't have too many little kind of like nasty bits, like, you know.
Peek at what size the radishes are. You just don't want to brush them so hard that you're knocking them over down.
The Polyculture event was really beautiful, but it was really inclusive and warm and welcoming to a large group of people.
Each of you harvest maybe like 10 or 15 of those.
I think that was my first time at City Farm. I remember driving past it and I saw it and I was like, wow, this is really exciting.
Basically, you want to feel them and make sure that they're not spongy, but this should be good. So, this is our spinner. So, generally we don't want to fill it up too much, just because otherwise, like, you know, water from what's on the top will just sort of stick on the stuff that's on the bottom. Like, we just want to make sure it all gets really dry. So, let's see. And then, let's see, that's pretty clean, so we can just put it back in there. So. So, that looks like it should be good.
A lot of the stuff we just kind of picked it out on the spot. I value that because the food is at its highest quality, at its peak. Obviously fresh, whole foods that were picked the night before versus, you know, being shipped cross country from California. You know, and who knows when they were picked. You know, that sense of immediacy when you're consuming fresh food is helpful from like a nutritional standpoint to help people get more focused, to have more energy, to be, I don't know, just have a general well-being, you know. I think food does that, so any way I can participate in helping people feel that way is really rewarding for me.
It's very easy to forget where food comes from, how it's grown, how it gets to us.
You know, people don't know that pasta is made from wheat. They don't know that bread is made from wheat. They often don't know something as simple, you know, I have a friend with a tomato allergy, and she runs all the time into people who don't know that ketchup is made from tomatoes. And it's just like people are so disconnected from the fact of their food being grown. It's really important to me to know where my food's coming from in terms of what's its source location. So is it locally grown? And is it grown by a farmer I know didn't spray their bok choy with pesticides? Or, you know, was it organically grown on some massive farm, you know, organic farm in California? What economy are you supporting? With the food that you're buying, are you supporting the local economy? Are you, you know, is this a third world economy? Where, like, what's the, not just where is it coming from, but like, who's it passing through?
I think our world has gone into industrial and mass production of almost everything, including music and entertainment and most of our experiences, and we suffer from it. The immediate experience of community with other people over a meal sometimes gets lost as we're rushing to catch this or that.
I think that it just reminded me of how food and like communities should be experienced, recognizing A, the source of your food, and B, the source of friendships, and C, like you are experiencing things as a physical and like emotional being. Having that all come together in a space was really lovely.
You know, there's something about sitting on something that's very clearly a farm with like tomato trellises and greens and this and that, and you know, you look up a little bit and there's skyscrapers in the back. You know, that environment is already such a rich environment that I think that maybe sitting in your kitchen and eating the same meal, you know, you still would have been happy, you still would have been impressed, but there's a certain awe, I think, that came, especially from people who hadn't been to the farm before. Everywhere that people have ever lived, it's possible to build a local food system. So maybe not Death Valley, you know, but like everywhere else, you know, besides Death Valley, basically. But ultimately what we need is a holistic consideration of how can we live sustainability in a way that's really empowering of ourselves and our communities, and stop feeding into a system that we're not ultimately in agreement with.
Yeah, I think teaching people how to grow their own food and being connected with their food is really, really key.